So today's video, I want to talk to you guys about a common question I get asked a lot, which is, can I work in the UK whilst I'm on a visitor visa? Is it possible for you to actually work in the UK, or indeed is it possible for you to switch onto a working visa if you come into the UK on a UK's visitor visa? Now in this video, I'm going to be talking you through all of this and more, including the legal considerations that you might want to consider if you are looking to actually take this avenue, and also other things you need to consider when you're coming into the UK on a UK's visitor visa. Okay, so first things first is, what exactly is a standard UK visitor visa? So the visitor visa allows you to basically come into the UK. It's a short stay visa, so it allows you to come into the UK and stay in the UK for a period of 6 months at a time. So you can apply for this visa, come into the UK to do things like see your friends, see families, come to one-off events, and maybe one-off business trips, and so on and so forth. So it allows you to do things like that when you actually come into the UK for that 6 months period. It's very easy for you to actually apply for this visa. The application process for this visa is actually quite straightforward, and you can do it by yourself online and go through the steps required in order for you to actually make the application for the UK standard visitor visa if you're interested in actually applying for the visitor visa. Now, to answer the question, can you actually work whilst you're on the visitor visa? The answer to that is no. Okay, so the visitor visa is one of those visas that is actually strictly for you to actually come to the UK to visit. Okay, you cannot work whilst you're on the visitor visa. You can't do things like being self-employed. So even if you thought you want to come into the UK using the visitor visa and then open a business of your own where you're working for yourself, you can't actually do that. So no self-employment is allowed. You can't do paid or unpaid employment whilst you're on the visitor visa. So it's important that you're actually familiar with this, because if you're caught actually working on the visitor visa, you could actually really and truly get your visa revoked, and it would impact any future further UK visa applications that you might be thinking of applying for in the future. The other question that I get asked a lot is that, can you switch to a working visa when you are on the UK visitor visa? Again, the answer to that is no, you cannot switch. Okay, you certainly can't switch onto a working visa from the UK visitor visa if you are in the UK. You would have to leave the UK, okay, and make a fresh application for a working visa and go through the routes that's required to get a UK work visa for you to actually come back here and work. Now, some of the other things that you actually are not allowed to do whilst you're on the UK visiting visa includes not accessing any kind of public funds or public benefits, and also you're not actually permitted to get married to anyone in the country whilst you are on the UK visitor visa. This includes things like civil partnerships. Okay, so you're not allowed to do any of that. Now, I know I've seen a couple of videos that have been claiming that it is possible for you to switch onto a UK work-based visa whilst you're in the country. Now, I will tell you categorically that you should not do this, and if you are found doing this, it's actually a criminal offense. Okay, so you really do not want to do this. You want to make sure that if you want to apply for a UK work visa, you need to make sure that you are already on a different type of visa that allows you to be able to switch onto a UK work visa. But in the case of the UK visitor visa, it is strictly for the purpose of visiting the UK. Okay, there are very tight, firm restrictions around the UK visitor visa. Now, what happens if you actually overstay whilst you're on the UK visitor visa, i.e. if you go over the limit of 6 months on your visa? Now, typically you need to understand that UK immigration will not actually remind you of when your visa expiry date is, okay, but this will usually be stamped somewhere in your passport, or it will be on your biometric residence permit. So you need to make sure that you have a clear idea of what that date is, and you make sure that you are not overstaying past that date, because essentially what happens is the minute you become an overstayer, i.e. you have exceeded that 6 months time limit on your UK visitor visa, then you will need to get out of the country within 30 days of that visa expiry date. Okay, you'd need to do that of your own funds and make the arrangements to do that as soon as possible, because the minute you become an overstayer, then you are actually breaching UK immigration rules, and that could have serious consequences for any future UK visa applications that you might decide to make, say in the case of applying for permanent residency in the future or indefinite leave to remain and things like that. So you want to make sure that you are not crossing this territory. So in saying this, there are, however, some exceptional circumstances where you can actually be permitted to stay in the UK despite overstaying on your visitor visa. Now, such exceptional circumstances can be in the case of where you're in the UK and you're currently receiving medical treatment from a hospital, or perhaps maybe where you have lost, or you've lost a relative or a very, very close family person in your family, and you have provided the relevant evidence with the supporting documents to the Home Office to show that you have valid reasons for actually overstaying on your visitor visa. Now, you want to make sure that you've thoroughly understood the circumstances where this applies to you and what documentation you need to provide. Okay, I will leave the link to where you can read more about all the circumstances that would qualify for you to actually be able to stay in the country despite being an overstayer on your visitor visa. Essentially, you want to pay attention to a paragraph called paragraph 39E on the UK immigration rules. So make sure you read all of that to guide you on exactly what the rules say about being an overstayer here in the UK and how it will allow you to still continue to stay on despite actually exceeding your visa time limit. Hopefully that video has been useful for you guys. If you want to see more content like this, then do make sure you consider subscribing to this channel. Make sure you like this video, and please do share this video with someone else who you think might find it useful. If you want to learn more about other UK visas, then do make sure you check out these videos here on my channel to guide you on some more information and resources regarding UK visas.